Hello, thanks for joining our online workshop where we're going to guide you through the 4 elements of agility. Hereby we go to share some tips and tricks and also some exercises. So I'm Koen, former athlete, have a background in the military and also the founder of Let's React. And we will presenting this online workshop today. So Lander, it's up to you now.
Hello, my name is Lander. I'm a co-founder at Let's React and I'm a former professional volleyball player. So, ready to get started? So, before we dive into the exercises, we first want you to understand what agility is and why it's so important. Afterwards, we will demonstrate some concrete exercises and share some tips and tricks, as Koen already mentioned, that you can start implementing in your training as from tomorrow. We got a lot of suggestions for this workshop and we tried to take most of them into account, but obviously we couldn't take all of them into account. Okay, so why is agility so important? Well, in most sports, it helps to be the fastest and the smartest player on the court. Reacting quickly to your opponent, making a good decision, and executing upon that decision as quickly as possible will almost always result in a crucial advantage over your opponent. A good example of this is a soccer player that is reacting to a sudden movement of an attacker, for example, or a tennis player that would react to the drop shot of his opponent. So adding specific agility exercises into your training will ultimately improve the results and overall performance of your team or your athlete.
So, thanks Lander. Let me guide you through the 4 elements. Hereby you will see that using a speed ladder is not enough to train the agility. You have to train 4 elements, that is cognition, decision making, reaction speed and change of direction. So that's very important to understand these 4 different elements. So cognition, by adding cognitive parts into the exercises, you will let the players think while they are moving. Hereby it is very important to challenge them on the cognitive part. You will create smarter players, you will create extra links into the brains so that they can adapt faster on some particular situations during a game. The next one, decision making, reacting on a move of an opponent. You can maybe do it on 10 different ways, but choosing the right one will lead to a win. So it's very important that you take some rest, take some controlling over your emotions, inhibition, so that you are capable to take the right decision. So controlling your emotions during decision making is very important. The third element, reaction speed. Reaction speed is the speed that someone triggers an unexpected or expected movement. So after taking the right decision, it's very important that you can start your decision so fast as possible to create an advantage. Hereby it is important to train it with unexpected stimulants, unexpected moves where the players have to react on. So a lot of moves with changes of direction, I like to add it also into it, because on a contest it's also, you have to combine the reaction speed with changes of directions and decision making. So try to combine all these elements so much as possible together in the exercises. The last element, change of direction. So you can create a lot of advantage above your opponent when you are fast and changes of direction. Hereby the body performance and using the right technique is very important to improve this. So please guys, try to watch as a trainer on the technique of the players and not shouting instructions. Take time to be busy with your players, use some tools to adapt in your training so that you have time to give feedback on the right moment. Very important.
So, to summarize, the 4 elements that Koen just explained, so cognition, decision making, reaction speed and change of direction, these elements are strongly linked together. For example, if you have a very fast player that is not good at decision making, his actions will not result in a win. Also, another example, if you have a player that is very good at decision making but has slow reaction speed, or his change of direction skills are not good enough, his actions will also not result into a win. So, if you want your team or your athlete to improve and to be the best, you need to train agility and you need to train all 4 elements. Okay, so now you understand the basics of agility, let's move on to the exercises. The exercises that we're going to show today are not sport specific, so you can actually use them in a lot of different sports. However, if you want to, for most exercises you can add a ball touch or a specific sports movement, for example. The first exercise of today is a basic warming up exercise. A warming up for the body, but also for the mind. Because in most sports we tend to only warm up our body before a game, but it's actually also important to warm up the mind. Have you ever seen that during the first minutes or during the first set of a game, your players are actually not performing as well as they should be? Well, it's scientifically proven that this is because they are not mentally prepared for that game. A concrete tip that we want to share with you today is to make sure that you always warm up your players' mind. Make sure that they are mentally prepared to focus from the first seconds of the game and perform at 100%. For Formula 1 drivers, for example, where decision making and reaction speed is very important, you will always see them doing these kind of basic reaction speed exercises just to get mentally prepared for that race. Okay, Cornel, you can take a short break. As you have seen in this exercise, we chose for a very basic arrangement with a rectangle of 4 cones. As Koen explained in the intro, it's also very important to work with an external stimulus just to simulate a game like the action of an opponent. If you're not doing this, you're merely training change of direction, and that's not enough to improve your agility, or in this case, to warm up your player's mind. So this is a very basic exercise where Cornel is simply following the signal that he gets from the tool Direction from Let's React. So he's just following the direction that he's getting, and he's sprinting towards the right cone and then coming back to his starting position. Very simple, but we can also make it a little bit more complicated just to make sure that his brain has to adapt and trigger his brains a little bit more. So now I'm just going to ask Cornel, instead of following the directions, to follow the colors. Okay, Cornel, now you can follow the colors instead of the directions.
Okay, great, Cornel. Yeah, good. Try to go around the cones in 3 steps. Forward, it works. 2, 3, yeah, good one. Yeah, 2 steps, great. 1, 2, 3, yeah, good one, good. 2 more, and then take a rest. Yeah, okay, thanks, Cornel, it's good.
The next exercise of today is purely focused on lateral movement. This is obviously very important for tennis players, but lateral movement is also important in a lot of other sports. Okay, Cornel, good. Try to move your body in the direction you're trying to go. Okay, perfect. Okay, so thanks, Cornel. You can rest for a minute. So in this exercise, it's very simple. Cornel is simply following the color that he receives from the direction, and he does a lateral movement. So now in this phase, the brain is purely focused on doing only lateral movements. So pretty simple. So if we want to trigger the player a little bit more, we can add an extra type of movement. So in this case, Koen is going to add an extra red cone. And now, as soon as Cornel receives a red signal from the direction, he has to do a backwards move. So with this extra movement, his brain will be triggered a little bit more, and he will have to adapt to this extra type of movement. Okay, Cornel, go. In this exercise, you might see that sometimes he will have a little bit of extra time. He will have to wait for the signal, but that's not a problem, because in most sports it's actually important to have a moment of silence and be ready for that next action. You could also obviously play with the distance that you have in between the cones to make it harder or to make it a little bit easier, depending on the age, depending on the performance level of the athletes that you are working with. Okay, Cornel.
Okay, the next exercise is all about decision making. They have to adapt on each other's movement. The players have to go so fast as possible to 2 cones of the same color, but be aware there are only 3 cones from each color, so they have to adapt and watch on each other's movement. Okay guys, you can start the exercise. The next signal, be ready, go. Yeah, good, nice one. Next. Yeah. For you, the optimal option was to dare lander. Try to control your emotions to take the right decision. Come on guys. So you see, it's not easy. Why? Because your opponent has already started his movement. You have to be faster than him to take to win the situation. So you have to control your emotions. You don't. It's not possible for you to lose time. So it's always have to be 100% to fulfill this exercise. Try to watch more to each other and adapt more. Try to control your emotions and not directly want to be the fastest one. Yeah, good, nice. Next signal. No problem, no problem. Yeah, good, nice. Last one. Control your emotions. Ready? Go. Yeah, good. So you see, when they are controlling their emotions, that it's possible to fulfill this exercise and to create a win for both of them. Only when they are letting their emotions go and only wanted to be the first, you will always take the wrong decision. So control your emotions and it will lead most of the time to a win. So thanks Lander and Corneel, take a rest, drink something, and we will go to the next exercise. So Corneel, in the next exercise you have to combine the colors together. So watch your current color, remember it and combine it with the next color. So I'm going to challenge you in this exercise on the cognitive part. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, watch and react. Blue, green, watch. Yeah, great. Yeah, nice. Yeah. Ah, good. No problem. Take some rest. Ready? Go. Now we'll give a tip how we can train it when it's very difficult to do this exercise. So Corneel, I'm going to guide you for other players for which it's not easy to do this exercise. So pointing with your finger where to go, not doing this action, yeah. Just pointing, and this will help you to have control over this exercise. And the next step is active doing this exercise. Okay, ready? Watch the combinations and just point. This was blue. Yeah, great. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, good. Yeah. Okay, and now combine, going to the combination and pointing together. Okay, ready? Go. Yeah, nice one. Yeah. Good. Yeah, nice. 2 more and then. Yeah, good Corneel, great. Okay, thanks. This was, you can take some rest, drink something.
The last exercise of today is a sprint exercise, but a sprint under pressure. It's not a simple sprint from point A to point B, and after the initial demonstration from Corneel, we will explain you why this is so important. Okay, Corneel, go. Most of the time, sprint training is all about sprinting from point A to point B. However, in a game, that's not what really happens. Usually, a sprint is always followed by an action. Like, for example, in soccer, you would sprint towards the ball and then you would do a second action, for example, passing that ball to your teammate. In the example of the tennis player that reacts to a drop shot, he will sprint towards the net, towards the ball, and will then return the ball over the net. So another concrete tip that we want to share with you today is to always add tasks to your sprint, because by adding a task you teach the player to think during his sprint. You teach them to watch, to analyze the situation and to make a good decision based on what he sees. So in this sprint exercise we have a simple setup of two rectangles, one over there with 4 cones, and then we have a second rectangle over there also with 4 cones. So the athlete will actually start at his starting position at the white cone. He will wait for the first signal, for example red, and then he will sprint towards the red cone. He will return to his starting position, wait for the second signal, for example blue, and will then also sprint to blue. After that sprint to the blue cone, he will sprint as quickly as possible to the second rectangle and repeat his movements. So that means during his sprint he has to remember what he did in the first rectangle and repeat that exact same movement in the second rectangle. So in this case, in the second rectangle he would go first to the red cone and then he would go to the blue cone. This is still pretty simple, so to make it a bit more complicated, somebody will actually be passing balls to him while he's doing that exercise to make it a bit more complicated and trigger his brain even more. You may have noticed that the direction is now mounted on a pole. We did this on purpose to simulate a game. Like for example in soccer, you have to look at what's happening behind you, the same in basketball. So we put the pole and the direction on purpose behind the player, so he would always have to look over his shoulder and then start his movement. That was the last exercise of today. So as you have seen, we used our tool Direction from Let's React because, as Koen mentioned in the beginning, it's important to have this external stimulus, otherwise you're merely training agility. So you need to train all 4 elements of agility and you need that external trigger to have a game-like situation. If you are interested in learning more, feel free to leave a comment below or reach out to any of your preferred channels to Let's React.
I hope you enjoyed our online workshop. So we're going to put a lot of new content on our channels, YouTube, Facebook and all those things. So feel free to subscribe so that we are going to help you with new exercises. So I think that's it. Just following us on the channels, and we are hoping to see you soon on our next online workshop. So thank you.